This is Hugh Ballou, founder and president of Center Vision Leadership Foundation. This is a series of what we're calling transformation talks. The presenters in our clergy webinar leading to a symposium for revitalization, encouragement, re-energizing for the new era. So our presenter today is my wife, who's ordained clergy in the Virginia Conference of the United Methodist Church and is doing revitalization work and sees some of the challenges firsthand. And so, Leanne, welcome to this series, and please share your time with those who are really interested in revitalization.
Thank you. Hugh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of the symposium. I come with a deep love for my colleagues in church leadership. As Hugh said, I've been serving the church professionally all my life, most of the years as a full-time church musician, and most recently as revitalization coordinator for the Lynchburg district of the United Methodist Church in Lynchburg area, Virginia. I shared in our gathering, the opening of the symposium, that I had experienced a season of burnout and depression. And that came for me in a time when I served Blacksburg United Methodist Church at the time of the shootings at the campus of Virginia Tech. And we had been we were well cared for in the community in Blacksburg by mental health professionals who had cared for the folks in Oklahoma City and had learned a lot about the experience of trauma, collective trauma. And like clockwork, I experienced a period of burnout and depression 18 months after the trauma of the shootings at Virginia Tech. The day I knew something was going on was the Monday morning I went to work, and I found myself with my head on my desk with no energy to do anything and absolutely no creativity had I thought of anything the next right thing to do. And I was not alone. We find ourselves at this point in a global pandemic, a collective trauma, the likes of which none of us have experienced, slightly more than 18 months into it. And those of us who are helpers, who are leaders in the church, are definitely experiencing some signs of burnout and depression. And I will say that as I look back over that time in my own life, it was a gift. And the reason I say that is because the importance of self-care came to me in such a profound way that I've been a proponent of self-care ever since. I want to take us through a time of sort of a guided meditation. This is not at all going to be a lecture, or I'm not going to impart information into your brain that you don't already have, but instead I hope to just lead you through a time of reflection, self-awareness. And I want to say to you, there'll be several times in which I'll say, I invite you to pause the video and spend some time in reflection. So you may now want to gather a journal. You may want to find a comfortable seat or even lie down as you listen to this. And I'm going to invite you, because no one is watching, to get really comfortable and participate with your body. I'll do some invitation to some movement as we go through the meditation today. So feel free to enter into it without hesitation. And I thank you for trusting me enough to take you through a time of reflection. We hear in Deuteronomy, Shema Israel, the Lord your God is one, and you shall love the Lord your God. Echoed many thousands of years later, we hear man approach Jesus and say, what is the greatest commandment? You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and your strength. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. In a time in our world when there's not a lot of love for neighbor going around, we may too have experienced dried up well when we see more acting out, more enmity being played out. We may even be experiencing more divisiveness or argumentativeness in our own families, in our churches or synagogues, in our communities. Loving our neighbor as ourself has been perhaps a little harder than ever. And so for some of us, that's even continued to some struggle with, on a theological level, making it difficult to love God when so many are suffering and we can't really understand why. I love the commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength. And I shared in my introduction my favorite clergy self-care image, the fidget spinner. I love to think of it as the heart, the soul, the mind, and strength. And that when each one is in a cared for state, we can flow with a calm hub in the center. But when we're suffering in body, mind, spirit, or heart, we get stuck. We're not in flow, and it's challenging to do our job and to do our job well. I'm going to lead us through just a time of self-awareness and through a guided meditation through each area: heart, soul, mind, and strength. And we'll spend some time thinking about just where you are today. So let me invite you to get in a comfortable position. Feel free to lie down, uncross your legs. Make sure you're warm enough, or sit comfortably. And I invite you to put both feet on the floor. Take a deep, deep inhale and let it all go. Feel free to close your eyes. You don't really need to see right now, just listen. Inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. And as my yoga teacher says, lots of love in, lots of love out. Take a few more at your own pace. Let something go. Release the muscles in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your back, your torso. Take a deep breath and fill your torso, filling with air, and let it go. And let your muscles relax. Let that sensation of relaxation travel down your back, your sitting muscles, your legs, the strong muscles in the front and the back of your legs, your calves, your ankles, your feet. Unclench your toes. Take a deep breath and let it all go. We have an image in Genesis of God creating humankind, scooping ground from the earth and forming humanity. Into the dirt, and it became human. That breath of God, that ruach, is breathing in you with your inhale. God breathing life and love in you. You breathing God's life out. Breathe in the breath of God. Let your breath flow out as God's love interpreted as your life. With that image, simply breathe a few deep breaths. God created all humankind and called humankind good. Breathe in the affirmation of your goodness in God's sight. I invite you to place your hands over your heart. The commandment is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. So breathe God's breath into your heart. The ruach of God into your heart. Can you feel its beating? Can you feel the warmth of your hands over your hard-working heart that pumps blood through your body day and night without you thinking of it, without you telling it to? Be aware of your heart. Can you feel your pulse in other places in your body? Perhaps in your fingertips or your toes. You may want to feel it at your neck or your wrist. Thank God for your good heart. We often say the heart is the seat of our emotions. So, how is it with your emotions lately? Find that you're more anxious than you've been lately? Is your heart weighed down with grief? Is it anger you're feeling? Or fear? Longing? Regret? Fatigue? Numbness? How is it with your heart? Are you able to manage the level of emotional intensity that you've been experiencing? Or is it higher than it has been lately? What are the signs for you that your heart is trying to handle too much? Is it tears, irritability, listlessness, snapping at your family members, endless mind chatter, difficulty sleeping, no appetite, too much appetite, dependence on caffeine or sugar or alcohol or other substances? I invite you, if these questions have caused you to have an intense emotional response, that now would be a good time to pause the video and spend some time in self reflection. You might want to journal. You might want to consider calling a mental health professional to help you deal with the overwhelming emotions that have been part of your experience lately. I think it's easy for clergy to believe that, we're the helper. It's our job to help other people. We don't need help. But even clergy needs someone to talk to about the emotional challenges of doing our work. You feel deeply, and you need a safe place to talk those feelings out, to work those feelings out. So if this has been rather stimulating for you, I invite you to pause and take some time to listen deeply to your heart and consider what you need. Thanking God for your good heart. I invite you to take a deep breath and let it go. I invite you to place your hands over where you believe your soul resides in your being. For me, it's right in my solar plexus. It may be for you some other place. There's no right or wrong answer. just invite you to place your hands where your soul resides, where you are hidden with Christ in God. Inhale deeply God's Ruach, God's Spirit, right to the place of your soul, where your soul resides. God's Ruach in. To the resting place of your soul. And hear God's, it's good, it's good, it's very good about your soul. So, how is it with your soul? Is it peaceful? Are you able, through your spiritual practices, to go through the portals of the heavenly presence and experience God in your soul? Or does it seem, for whatever reason, that the windows and the doors have been shut tight and you find yourself in a dark night of the soul, as our friend John of the Cross put it? Do you find that as a leader in worship or study or prayer, that the words are coming out, but you feel disconnected from them and you're not sure you believe them anymore? Does it seem your prayers have fallen on deaf ears and that you have been, for some reason, cut off from God? The first time a Christian walks through a dark night of the soul, it can feel as if all has been for naught. It can seem a frightening and lonesome and shameful place with no one to talk to about it, because who can admit these things? And yet, they're not foreign. It's not a foreign land to many Christians. But when we find ourselves there, we may find that we need a spiritual friend to be a companion with us, someone to tell the truths of our suffering and our struggling too. Is your soul crying out for a spiritual companion? I invite you, if the questions that I have asked in the meditation that we've gone through, as we've asked, how is it with your soul? Caused you to think deeply and have many thoughts that need to be followed through with, to pause the video now. Take out your journal or call a friend who can be a spiritual companion, or even to check out spiritual direction through your faith tradition. You might look up Spiritual Directors International. And take the next right step to care for your soul. You might revisit with yourself those practices that have led you to experience the presence of God, and to take a small step toward renewing those practices, or even trying some new ones. If you're a person who has found the stillness, something that has fed you in the past, and today you feel empty, you might try something more embodied, or vice versa. If you've been a person who feels near to God as you're walking or riding your bike or cooking in the soup kitchen, you might find that a still practice would be what feeds your soul now. But I do invite you to pause and consider what might your next right step be for nurturing your soul. I invite you to take a deep breath and thanking God for your good soul. The young man asked, "You shall love, what's the greatest commandment?" And Jesus replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and your mind." And so I invite you, place your hands on your mind, where you think your wisdom and intellect reside. Hold the posture as long as it's comfortable, but don't feel like you have to continue to hold it as long as I'm speaking. Let the warmth of your hands rest on your head, and feel that warmth, that warm caress. Breathe in the Ruach of God. Aim it toward your mind. And receive God's blessing. It is good. Your mind is good. Oh, friend, how is it with your mind? Are you continuing to grow in understanding? I have this beautiful image of the chick inside the shell. When the chick's body is nourished, it grows and becomes too large for the shell. It begins to bang its head upon the wall. Until the shell breaks. And banging its head upon the wall of the shell, that confined space breaks apart, and the chick stretches its head above the confinement of that old framework until the chick can move its head and neck and turn about and open its eyes and see what it did not see before, and stretching those tiny baby legs, pushes itself up and opens wings it didn't know it had, and a new life, a whole new perspective, a whole new understanding of life, of possibility, of potential happens when the chick becomes too confined, begins to beat its head upon the shell. And sometimes I wonder if our worldview or our theological understanding or the limits of our information or just what we know at this point, it is too small. And it cramps us as we grow. It cramps us because we are growing and there is a greater perspective. There is more to learn. There's more to understand. Scriptures say that God's thoughts are far beyond our thoughts, and we can always expand our thinking and our understanding. So if you're finding that you're beating your head against the proverbial wall of the limits of your understanding or the theology that you've been functioning under is beginning to crumble, be not afraid. Be not afraid. It's possible that the lid, the limit, is about to be lifted off, and you're about to be delivered into a far greater understanding of God's goodness, who you are, who God is, who the world is. So, who are your teachers? Where is God calling you to learn? Where is your curiosity? You may want to pause the video now and do some time thinking and journaling, and even get on Amazon and order some books, or go to that rabbi or teacher that you've been wanting to make the time to listen to. Maybe you're in a place where you're wanting to get curious about the people that think differently than you. And instead of rejecting the way they think, you're just getting curious about what makes them think the way they do. How can I honor them and just be curious and hear how they've arrived at their conclusions? How could we even be friends and be coming to different conclusions? You may want to spend some time journaling about what some next right steps might be for you in terms of following your curiosity. It may be that some of you want to go back to school. What's the next right step for caring for the beautiful mind that God gave you? So placing your hands on your head, one last breath in of God's Ruach. It is good, your mind. And now invite you to place your hands on your body in a way that feels comfortable to you. You may want to cross your arms in a gentle embrace, or just place your hands on your lap and feel the warmth of your hands on your body. Man asked Jesus, "What's the greatest commandment?" And he said, echoing the Shema, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength, with your physical being." So take a deep breath in and receive the breath of God, the Ruach of God. It is good, your body. It is good. So how is it with your body? How's your sleep been lately? Are you able to get enough to wake feeling rested? How's your nutrition been? Are you drinking water? Are you able to eat enough to meet the needs of the physical demands of your day, but not too much? Is your appetite diminished? Or do you find that you're eating more than you need? Both can be signs of anxiety. How's your exercise? Are you able to take care of the normal demands of your day? When was the last time you saw the doctor for a well check? Are you caring for your blood sugar and your blood pressure? Does your diet support good heart health? Are you supporting your immune system with good vitamins? Do you feel like doing the things that you enjoy doing? Do you dance? Ride your bicycle? Take a walk? Take a jog? Do the gardening? How is it with your physical body? Might be that now would be a good time to pause the video and spend some time thinking about how you've been caring for your body. Often, as clergy, we put everyone else's needs first and ours last. And it's easy to neglect care for our own physical beings. But as the stewardess says on the airplane, we have to put the oxygen mask on our own bodies before we put the mask on someone else. Or we could indeed pass out before we've had a chance to care for anyone else. I invite you to spend some time in your journal, just doing a check on your own physical well-being, and consider what is the next right step for yourself in caring for your body. And can you make that appointment with your dentist or your doctor, or the Y, or your trainer, or your dance coach, or your yoga teacher, or your running group, or your walking buddy? Finally, invite you to place your hands on your body one last time. Inhaling, receive the blessing of God's Ruach in your good body. And rest. In the goodness of your body. I have learned over the years that I simply cannot love my neighbor unless I have received and allowed God's love, God's ruach, God's blessing of goodness to dwell in me completely, in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, and in my strength. And unless I prioritize, not selfishly, it's not selfish at all, but with self-care, unless I prioritize caring for my heart health, and that's meant working with the counselor sometime, and my soul health, and that's meant almost 2 decades working with the spiritual director. Heart, soul, mind, my intellectual curiosity, and that means constant reading and study and being enrolled in classes even now, and physical practice. And sometimes that's meant being a member of the Y, and sometimes it's just meant a daily commitment to doing my physical activity. And always it's meant living my life with the eye of a dentist and the doctor, with regular checkups, working with me so that my life can be in a state of flow. And until we get that balance going in our life, I believe we will find it hard to love our neighbor. will find it challenging to do our job. And if this full being scan has revealed to you today some way that you need to care for yourself, friend, God bless you and give you the strength to take one step, the next right step, the most immediate need for your body. And I invite you to get an accountability partner, someone who cares about you and loves you. Tell them what your next step is going to be and when you will take it, and invite them to hold you accountable, to ask you, did you do it? And if you need help, ask them to pray for you. Friends, it's been my privilege and an honor to share this meditation with you today. And I pray that each one of you will be the whole person that you are, the blessed and beautiful whole being that you are, fully in flow with love from God, for God, and for all of our neighbors. God's peace be with you. And amen.
Thank you so much, Leanne. We're on a journey. And I have a revitalization symposium on January 25th. The link will be below. Thank you for being with us on this journey.